do we still have people who are complete beginners, like complete beginner? I want to ask you, what's the journey like? Is it getting easier? Is this difficult, or is it getting tougher? Or how do you find the pace of the class and the trainings? Do you understand everything we've been teaching so far? Or it's confusing? It will really be helpful if we can get all this information from you all. Okay? Okay, all right. So I'm sure everybody can see my screen as confirmed by Mr. Callistus. So this is where we are wrapping up the session for, we wrapped up the session last year, and which is week 5. We spent an ample time on this week network security. Why? Because you cannot secure something you do not know. Okay, you cannot understand networking. You cannot secure a network which you don't understand. Okay, so the first thing I had to do was to teach you what networking is all about. Okay, I had to show you what networking is all about, and how to set up a network. Okay, before we touched a whole lot of things in the process. We did some demo so that it's not just theoretical. Okay, I had to just throw in that mix there so it's not theoretical. So I had to add something like a demo. So into this class, we are moving a step further. In the last class, we talked about network security, right? So today we will also focus on the same network security, but we'll go from the practical angle. Then in the next class, we'll be focusing on SOC. Okay. Now, this is where I expect every single person that will be joining the session to come with their computers. Okay, because it's going to be hands-on. Okay. As much as there will be some theoretical knowledge, but we'll be building projects. We'll be doing a whole lot of hands-on demonstration. Okay, so it will be, we'll do a lot of explanation. We'll do some projects in real time. Okay, so it's going to be the knowledge, the incremental learnings will become incremental. Okay, so in the last class, we were able to discuss a ton of information. We talked about the three-way handshake. We talked about the OSI model. We talked about the network attacks. We talked about firewall and IDPS. Okay. And I want to believe from what we covered in the last class, it made a whole lot of sense to everybody. Okay. So into this class, I want to practically focus on some major things I think you need to know, especially during interviews, or especially as regards your learning as a cybersecurity engineer. Yeah, like I said before in yesterday's session, I said there are basic things that whenever you tell somebody you're a cybersecurity engineer, there are certain things they are going to ask you and they expect you to know. Okay. So, and I talked about ports in the last class. So into this class, we'll go from a practical angle, okay, to talk about the ports, and then we'll also talk about firewall. Okay. So when we talk about ports, I'll explain a little bit on it. Then we'll open a Linux environment. We'll do some demo there. We'll set up a server. Okay. I'll explain some things to you. Okay. Then we'll also maybe show you something on how you can work. We might not delve into it now, but we'll just talk about something called Nmap, which is a network mapper. Okay. Nmap is called network mapper. All right. So it's a network reconnaissance tool. Okay. Maybe you've not heard the word reconnaissance before or enumeration, but you will hear some of these terminologies as we dive deeper in the program. Okay. So we'll be using a network reconnaissance tool, which is called network mapper. I will just talk a little bit on it, and if possible, we might do a demo, but we have plans to touch all those things in subsequent classes as we move ahead. You understand? Then we'll talk about firewalls. Okay. We'll do a simple demo again. We'll expand what we did in the as regards the ports. We'll talk about the firewall and how you can set up and configure a firewall, okay, to prevent incoming. You can use the firewall to monitor, intercept traffic, okay, block or allow traffic. You understand? So then we'll talk about maybe security group, and then we'll try to wrap it up from there. Okay. It's not going to be so much session, but I just want to touch some basic things that I know that okay, we've touched. And then once we've touched it, then we can build upon it in subsequent classes. All right. Okay, please, at any point in time, I'm too fast, I said something you don't understand, use the comment section. I'm always watching it, so I will always try to address your concern. Okay, it's a learning phase for every one of us, and we'll be growing, okay, intentionally. So feel free and be open-minded. Now, the first thing I want to talk about after we covered everything in the last class is ports. Okay, so let's come here, and if you just come here and type ports, okay, and you hit enter and you come here and click not necessarily, okay, let me limit my definition to computer ports. Okay, I don't want to get the hardware ports, but let me just come here and type network ports. Okay, good, because it can mean different things. So I'll just click on this, and I know I've explained this in the previous classes, right? Now, but there's something I want to show you specifically. Okay, good. So while I try to open this, I also want to show you something here. So all you need to do with me is just to type TCP IP port. Okay. Now, as a cybersecurity engineer, I want you to get familiar with this link I'm going to share with you. Okay. I've shared it on the comment section. Okay. So I'm going to open this and maybe this one. All right. So it's going to show us a list of ports. Okay. A list of ports, or what we call port numbers. Okay. Port numbers. Now, but what do we mean by port? So just to make you understand this, again, I said we're going to do this practically. So this is what I'm going to do. Let's open this too. And let's click here. Okay, good. I think I have something here. So friends, if you've not used this platform before, you can use this. Okay. Now, two things. If you have your virtual machine up and running, fine. If you've been able to install your virtual box and you have Kali operating system running on it, great job. Okay, then you don't need to use this. Okay, but if you don't, you can use this. Okay, so but let me share the link in case you might need it. All right, so now this, what I'm going to do is just to spin up a Linux environment. Does everybody on this call know what Linux operating system is? Everybody. Does everybody on this call has perfect understanding on what Linux operating system is? Feel free, feel free. You can just say no, or maybe haphazard, like yes, yes and no. Or you can rate yourself from 1 to 10. Okay. Now, of course, not everybody will have 10 over 10. Not even me, even though I've been using it for more than 10 years. Right. So, but there's so many things to do in Linux, right? So, but just to be sure that we all know about it and we use it. Okay. If anybody falls under the zero category, then I know what to say. Okay, but I just want to be sure everybody has an understanding. Okay, so from the responses I have here, it means everybody understands the Linux. So which means I'm good to go with my examples. I was asking so that I will know the kind of explanation I need to do. So if you watch my computer screen, you will see that this is a Linux environment running Ubuntu operating system. Okay. All right. So I'm sure you have knowledge of what I mean. Now, what I want to do on this operating system right now, on this computer system, okay, this one here, is that I want to install, or I want to set up something we call a web server. All right. I want to set up a web server. And if you remember, we've talked about something like this before. So a web server is a software. Okay. It's a it's a kind of software which we use to serve web files or web services. All right. So let's just move on. So the first thing you might want to do as a cybersecurity person is to say sudo apt update, so you can update your operating system. Okay. So I'll just do just that. I'm sure everybody knows what's going on. Now, the next thing I want to do, please let me know if you're confused at any point. I want to install something called the web server software. So there are so many of them. we can install one of them called Nginx, or we can install another one called Apache 2. Okay, Apache 2. Those are the two popular ones. Now, but let's confirm something. We want to confirm something. You know, this operating system has an IP address. Okay, this computer has what? An IP address. Okay, just to be sure that you all know what I'm saying, can you tell me on the comment section, how do I check the IP address for my Windows computer? I'm using Windows computer. How do I check the IP address for my Windows computer? Anybody? Anybody knows how to? Just type the command if you know how to do it. Just type the command. CMD. Let me know. Let me see. Let me see here. Okay, somebody says, okay, Benulua says IP config. All right, so let's try it here. Okay, so I'm going to type it here, right? So let's follow what Ebonulua said on the comment section. So she says IP config. Okay, so if I hit enter, it's going to give us a whole lot of results. Is that true? Now she's correct. Okay, so you can actually use ipconfig or ipconfig/all. You can actually do a whole lot of things. Okay, now, but this, the most important thing is that this, if I look for the interface, because I have so many interfaces here, all right. So, but if I look for my wireless interface here, the, excuse me. So this is my IP address. Okay, my IP address. Now, in previous classes, I'm sure every one of you have learned how to check an IP address. We've done that before. You all remember. If you watch previous videos, you remember. Now, what about in a Linux computer? Can anybody tell me how do I check the IP, the what is it called, IP address? If I type the same thing, IP config, and I hit enter, what did you see? Did you notice it gives me an error message? It tells me not found. Is it not true? Okay, I just wiped the screen. If you're wondering how I wiped the screen, I pressed Control and I pressed L on the keyboard. Control plus L. Okay, if you're using Mac, it is Command and L. Okay, either you use Control and L or you just type clear. All right, it's going to clear the whole screen. All right, so anybody tell me on the comment section, how do I check my IP address using the Linux environment? Anybody? Can you tell me? Anybody? Give it a try. Mr. Balaji say ifconfig. So let's try it. So I'll type ifconfig and I hit enter. Okay, so see what it says. It say command ifconfig not found. So what am I supposed to do? Mr. Balaji, can you help us? You can feel free to unmute yourself or you can still type if you prefer. I have sudo. Okay, he said I should put sudo. So I'm going to type sudo and I'm going to say ifconfig. ifconfig. See, you say sudo config, ifconfig the command is not found. All right, now just because I want you all to, just because we want to save time, okay? Now I want you all to be very conscious, observative, okay? Always observe. Now, when you type command on Linux environment, always read this error to the end. I deliberately just read this and stopped and turned my screen, right? Now, if you all had noticed, you will notice that it says bot can be installed with what? It told me this is the command I can use to check my IP configuration. Did you see that? So now, but I'm going to tell you off the top of my head, okay, in a Linux environment, okay, because there are different distribution of Linux, Ubuntu, Red Hat, and so on and so forth. There's CentOS, Fedora, there's so many of them, OpenSUSE and the rest of them. Okay. Now, but we're not here discussing the types of operating system, Kali, Parrot OS, and the rest of them. No, we are just learning how to use Linux environment. Okay. Now, if I don't want to use ifconfig, okay, I can always use what we call IP space A. Okay. If you use IP space A and you hit enter, it's going to give you the details you need. Now you may be wondering, let me clear the screen, Control L. You may be wondering, is it just IP space A? I said yes. Or if you want to put it in full, IP space A means IP address. You understand? So I think it's double D if I'm correct with the spelling of address. IP address. Now if I if you hit enter, can you see? All right. Now you can also do IP address show. Okay. And you're going to see the same thing. Now, if you're wondering what's this one, number one, you have some results here. Number two, you have some results here. Number three, you have some results here. Now, that's what we call interface. If you remember when we were talking about networking and we were focusing on the demo aspect of things, right? Do you notice that when you hover your cursor on this switch, you see some interfaces here? Okay, you see some interfaces here. The interface where you plug this, you plug this, you plug this. You can plug it to this PC has its own interface. Okay, if you come here, you see it has a physical interface where you plug the NIC card. Okay, I talked about NIC card in the previous class. I'm sure you all can relate with all this. If at any point you're confused, please do let me know. All right. Now, so on this Linux machine, so there are several interfaces. Now, this is the default loopback address. So there's something we call loopback address. Okay. So it's like a rebound to your own computer, your computer's local IP. Okay. Your own personal computer's local IP. Okay. An assignment, you can just read up on the word loop back. Okay, just read up what loop back address is. Okay, read it up. Now, the second interface is this is what we have here. Okay, so this is the interface name. Okay, the name can always change. Just like if you see on this Windows computer, let's where was I? Um, let's bring it up. Yeah. Okay, good. If you watch this, right, you see this is one interface. This is another interface, right? This is another interface. Did you see that? These are all different interfaces on my computer system. If if I come here, I can check on my Windows computer. Let me see if I can show you quickly. Network. Let's go into this. Okay, so if you just watch here, you see network adapters. Okay, the interfaces. There are different interfaces here for my virtual box, for my VMware, Bluetooth connection, Wi-Fi. Okay, each of them has their own interface where we can set up a network. Okay, like more like a connection medium. All right. Now, but this is also the interfaces for this computer. All right. So everything you see here is what you're seeing here. Now, but on a Linux computer, this is the one you have. So on this computer, there's something, it's a tool called Docker, and Docker can help you to set up its own network. So that's why you can see the Docker interface here. Now, this might not make sense right now, especially for your level as you're growing in knowledge in the area of cybersecurity, if you're a complete beginner, right? So, but anytime you type IP address show, okay, the first thing you should do is whenever you see loopback address, skip it. Look for the second one. The second one will possibly be your IP address. Okay. Now, if you remember, there's something we learned in the previous class where we said we have private IP address and we have public IP address. I'm sure you all know this by now. Okay. Now, do you agree with me that if you come here, right, I showed you that this is a private IP address and I told you about public IP addresses. Is it not true? I'm sure you all can remember when I was telling you the difference between private IP address and public IP address. Another way you can remember this just for your own documentation sake, you can go and read up RFC 1918 document. Okay, now this might sound very confusing, but please let it not bother you. Okay, there is a document labeled RFC 1918. Okay, now the only reason I'm showing you this is so that you can see that in this document we can tell, okay, we can tell the classifications of IP address. Okay. Let's come down a little bit. So I'll show you something good. If you watch here, can you see private address space? Okay. So there's a professional body that reserved this IP address ranges, okay, for private internet. Okay. So this IP that I'm using on my computer here, 192.168.0.111, did you notice that it falls under this category? You understand? So that is why I'm calling it a private IP address. Does that make sense? Any IP address that is outside this range is called a public IP address. I know we've done these basics before, but I'm reiterating it so that you can understand it again. All right, let's save time so that we can cover a lot of things today. So let's go back to what I was explaining. So on this Linux computer, instead of um in Windows, we call it IPv4 address. On Linux, what you will see is INET. Okay. So whenever you see this word INET, I want you to know that it's referring to what? A private IP. Okay. So INET 172.30.12, and this is the subnet mask. So just know that this is the IP address for this computer. Private IP address. If you want to know the public IP address of your computer, there are so many ways to know, but I will guide you. On your computer right now, every one of you can try this. You can type this word, I can has IP.com. Did you see this? I can has IP.com. I'm going to, if I hit enter, it's going to show me my IP address, and I don't want you all to see my public IP address. So I'm going to share it with you. Okay. I've shared the link on the comment section. Okay. I've shared the link on the comment section. Please, can you click on it and let me know the result you get? Excuse me, please. Excuse me. Let me know. Did you get, please don't paste your IP address with us, okay? I just want to know if you got, or just tell us the first three letters, the first three numbers, okay? That's the first octet, the first three numbers, just to be sure that everybody's going to get a unique public address. Okay, somebody got 102. Any other person? Okay, good, good, awesome, awesome. So guys, that is how you can get your public IP. So the public IP you are using to connect your computer right now is different. Now, some of you will notice there's 102, 102, but trust me, if you tell them to put the full numbers, you notice that they're not the same. You understand? They're not the same. Okay. So I just want you to have that at the back of your mind. This is one way to get the public IP address. Okay. Good. Now, let's go back to our demo. So remember that let's clear the screen. So I've told you how to get a private IP address. So, but on this computer, another this, excuse me, this killer coder has different ways of doing things. Okay, so I want to install my web server software. So I'm to install it, I'll type sudo and sudo apt install, and let's use, do I use Nginx or Apache? Okay, let's use Nginx. So I'll type Nginx. Did you see that? And put -y. Just type this command with me, okay? Just to be sure that you don't have any problem. Sudo, okay? Super user do apt, which is the package manager, okay? Install Nginx, which is a web server software, -y, which is for yes to auto install. I'll hit enter. Now it's going to install this web server. It's going to install this web server. Good. So, excuse me. So now that this web server has been installed, the next thing I need to do is click here, and you're going to see this called traffic ports. Click on it and scroll down. Now, I want you to notice something. There's something we call ports here. Now, but before I click on this, or no problem, let me go ahead. Just click on this port 80. Did you notice what we see here? Welcome to Nginx. Welcome to Nginx. Now let me show you something now. So this is port 80. How about if I click 8080? Did you notice it gives me a different error? It gives me a different server error. Okay, response code or status code 502 bad gateway. Now, port 80 gives me the welcome to Nginx. This gives me a different error. What if I want a different port entirely? Maybe port 9000, a custom port, and I click access. So it's going to give me a different, and you see, give me an error. But each time I just click on the 80, it will give me welcome to Nginx. Now, you still may not have gotten the whole package, but hold on. Let me show you something. Now, friends, I want you to see something. If I type, this is a Linux environment, right? And if I type ps-aux, all right, and I hit enter, okay? Now, if you watch here, there are a lot of things happening here, okay? There are a lot of processes happening here, okay? A lot of processes running on your computer, okay? This is a Linux command, or you know what, just to make it easy for you all to be able to retain this information, I'm going to type let's see, net start. Okay, good. So I want to use a tool called net start. Okay, it's a tool called net start. Okay, so this tool is not available on my computer. To use it, I will need to install it, and this is the command you use to install it. Okay, so and anytime you want to install it too, you use sudo. Okay, sudo apt install net dash tools. You see that? I put dash y and I hit enter. All right, let's wait and see. Excuse me. Good, great. It's done installing. Now, I want you to notice something. If I type net start, okay, and I type dash PANTU and I hit enter, you see a lot of things going on. Okay. Now, there's a lot of things going on here. Okay. So this is going to give us the network statistics. It's like a statistics of all the network traffic that is going on in this computer. Now, but let's do something so that you don't get confused. Okay, let's say grep. Listen. No, let me see if it's gonna work with this. Okay, let's use 80. Let's type 80 and say something. Okay, good. Now, so friends, let me explain something. Please don't get confused. Don't get confused at all. You all saw me when I installed the tool called Net Tools. I installed something called Net Tools, right? With the help of that Net Tools, I was able to access a package called NetStart. Okay. Now, for you to use this NetStart package, you need to put something we call flags. Okay. You put flags in addition to it. So when I type the NetStart, okay, NetStart, if you hit enter, just like that, you see so many results, right? Now, but I don't want that. Okay. I want to filter the results. So what we do is we'll put a space, we'll put a dash, and then we'll type PANTU. Now, you might not want to put, people put this in different ways. So watch, as long as it's PANTU, I can change it the other way around. I can say TUPAN. It will still work. Did you see that? As long as it's a combination of these characters. In fact, it must not be all of them. It can just be, if I just say, okay, I want only dash T, this is what you will see. Did you see that? This is what you get. So if I come again and say, okay, give me with the port, I want it with the port, you'll see something like this. So now all those things I was adding are called flags. Okay. So if I don't, I can keep it very short as just put P here. Okay. So it will show me so many things. But again, please, just for the sake of this learning, just put netstart dash PT or TP or PANTU, whichever one. But the most important thing I want you to understand is it shows me some results. But this is not all I want. Okay? It's not all I want. So that was why when I did this, I put A. If you put A, this is what you're going to see. It's going to show you all the process. Notice that when I did just this without the A, it gave me only 2 results. Okay. But when you do it with the A, it shows you more results. Did you see that? Now, I want you to understand that this computer system, okay, a service is running on the background that is listening to port 80. Okay. Now, if I come here and I do something like this, out of all these results we have here, I want to search the results. So I'll use grep. Grep is something we use to search for patterns or we search for results. So I'll say grep, I want to search for ports, anything that has 80 in it, okay, in all these results. So if I do this and hit enter, this is what you got. You understand? Now, let's add more filter here and see if P and 2. Okay, good. So now if you watch here, this is what I typed. Okay. So rather than you memorizing all these things, that was why I told you just type pan2. You understand? So once you do something like this and put grep 80, 80 is the port. Because we have an application called Nginx that is listening on port 80. So I want to just show you that this tool called network start can be used to search all the ports that is running on your computer. So right now in your computer, these are all the ports, all the many ports that are running on this computer system. Do you understand? So I am using this grep tool to filter it. Just show me for port 80. And when I did it, this is what it showed me. Now, if you look closely, if I try to reduce this, you will notice that it's telling me that there's a traffic, it's a TCP traffic coming from is incoming traffic from anywhere on port 80. Okay, just know that this is port 80 and this computer is listening. And which service is listening? Nginx port. Okay, with a user ID 3614 or process ID. Okay, now don't try to memorize this. The only thing you should just understand is you wanted to know if this computer is listening on port 80. And yes, this computer is listening on port 80. I can change it. If I don't want Nginx to run on port 80, I can change it. Okay. Now, but this is where it gets interesting. I've been able to do 2 things. One, I've been able to install Nginx and show you that Nginx is running on my computer system. Okay, by telling me welcome to Nginx, and it confirms that Nginx is running on port 80. Now, I'm going to do something. Okay, friends, this is where it gets interesting. So with the help of I'm going to work with a firewall right now to do something. Okay. Now there are different types of firewall. Okay. We have the host-based firewall, we have the network-based firewall. Okay, but I don't want to confuse you with the entire theory right now. So we're going to work with a popular firewall that works with operating systems. Okay, especially Ubuntu. So it's called UFW, uninterrupted firewall. Okay, UFW. So friends, if you type UFW and hit enter, if you see an error message, okay, like command not found, all you need to do is to say sudo, okay, apt install UFW. But I'm not going to do this. Why? Because this error does not say command not found. What is said is error, not enough arguments. Okay, no, not enough argument. It means that when you type UFW, something is supposed to come beside it. Okay, so if I type UFW and I type status, you see, it will tell me the status. Does that make sense to you now? So now, what is UFW? UFW is called a firewall. What is a firewall? A firewall can be said to be a software or a hardware that can be used to intercept, that can be used to monitor, that can be used to block or allow traffic into a device or a system. Does that make sense? We discussed this in the last class. So, but in this Linux operating system right now, okay, let's say I have installed Nginx right now, and this shows that everybody can access Nginx. So I'm going to copy this link now. Okay, I'm going to copy this link. All right, I copied the link right now. Okay, and I'm going to share it with you all, everybody that's in this session. I'm going to paste it here. Okay, please check this link I just shared now and see if you can confirm the Nginx is showing from your end. Okay, please can you check and let me know if Nginx is working? Check, just let me know. Can you see, confirm that it tells you the same thing it's telling me? Welcome to Nginx. Does it tell you that? Okay, good. Thank you, Mrs. Ebonolua. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Now, so now we've confirmed that everybody's getting the same result. Thank you, Mr. Babajide. Now, this is what we are going to do now, okay? I told you that a firewall can be used to mitigate, to block, okay? If you see this image that I have here, let's see. So sorry, I have so many things here running. Okay, so if you watch this image here, right, you will see that this is a company's network. Okay, employees work here, right, in a typical computer environment. Okay, so they work here, their computers, they do everything they do. Okay, so they can access the internet. Now they can set up, the company sets up a firewall, okay, which can be a software, which can be a hardware, whichever one. Okay. Now there's also something they call an IPS and IDS, which I told you about yesterday. Okay. Now, but and then we have the router, and then we have the internet. I want you to understand. Excuse me. So the firewall in this context is going to prevent people from just any traffic from coming in and any traffic from going out. So it's one thing to have a firewall installed in your computer. It's another thing to have a firewall configured. Okay. So we configure firewall by adding the necessary rules. Okay. There are different kinds of rules we need to add. Okay. We update them with rules to allow or rules to deny. Okay. Rules to allow or rules to deny. It's another word for whitelist and blacklist. So if you hear the word that this person has been blacklisted or whitelisted, right? You understand what it means. So whitelisted means you add this person into a list. Blacklisted means this person has been blocked or prevented. Okay. All right. So now we've understood the concept of the firewall, right? Let's so I'm telling you that there is a firewall on your Linux operating system which we can use called UFW. Okay. Now this is a kind of simple application firewall in this context, right? Now, so I told you that if you type UFW space status, you're going to see the status of this firewall. I told you that if you don't have UFW on your computer, I told you what to do, how to install it. Is that true? Good. Now, friends, one of the things I'm going to do right now is to set my configuration. So, if I, okay, before you do, okay, one of the things I tell people is this, before you even try to, type enable, because if I come here and say sudo systemctl status UFW, okay, now you may be wondering, what's this? This is just a way of checking the status of this package called UFW. So it's active right now. Okay. Okay. Now, but remember the status is inactive. So this uncomplicated firewall is on this computer, but the status is not active. So for me to use it, I told you I need to add rules. So if I do UFW, I can say UFW default, okay, allow, and then I'll specify what I want to allow. So this is like a default thing. I can allow incoming traffic, or I can deny incoming traffic. Okay, so allow or deny. Okay, so it's either traffic is coming in or traffic is going out. I'm sure you all understand what I mean by traffic is coming in or traffic is going out. You understand? Just like whenever we do something here, okay? So whenever this computer sends to this computer, so if the packet is going this way into this place, it means it's coming in. But if this one is sending to this one, it means this packet is going out. You understand? So that's like outgoing traffic. Okay, that's what I mean. So I can come here and say allow outgoing. Okay, so now what we usually do, this is what we do. UFW default allow outgoing. In other words, this firewall should allow outgoing traffic. In other words, if I want to download something from this machine to the internet, I should be able to download it. In other words, if traffic wants to leave this operating system, it should be able to go. You understand? So, but what we want to be careful of is incoming traffic. We don't just want anyhow people to come in. Do you understand? So, but I just want to show you a basic example. So I'll just hit enter. You see what I did? UFW defaults allow outgoing, and it tells you that outgoing policy changed to allow. I can also do the same thing and say UFW default deny incoming. You see this? So if I do this, this is what you're going to see. Incoming policy changed to deny. Now, friends, do you notice that just these two things I did? You may think that something is going to take effect. No, nothing will take effect. Even though you can see this, it doesn't mean that anything has taken effect. Why? Because if I type UFW and I type status, you will notice that this is still inactive. You understand? So the first thing you are supposed to do is to say UFW enable. Okay? Did you see that? UFW enable. Okay? Now, but you need to be very, very careful. Very, very careful. In fact, what I tell people to do, first of all, before they do anything, is to say UFW allow, and then you type SSH. Now, you may be wondering, what is SSH, secure shell? Now, because in the real world, okay, you always want to connect to your server. You always want to connect to a computer system. Okay, so there's a protocol called SSH, or there's a service called SSH running on your computer that allows traffic to come in and go out. Okay, so if you are using a firewall, right, and you want to be able to have smooth access, you must always learn to allow SSH traffic. It's very important. So if I do this, did you see what it says? UFW allow SSH. It tells me rules updated. Rules updated. Now, watch what I'm going to do. If I check the status, what do you notice? It's still saying inactive. Okay. Now, but just watch what. Let's enable it so you see. If I type enable and I hit enter, what did you see there? It tells me firewall is active and enabled on system startup. Now, in most cases, it will prompt you warning and tell you, do you understand what you're doing? Now, watch what's going to happen if I check the status. Did you notice, because I said allow SSH, so SSH is a service that runs on port 22. Now, let me backtrack it a little bit so that I can show you what do you remember I told you to just type the what is it called? The TCP IP port, right? Was it TCP? TCP IP? No, it's not this. Let's just do it here. So TCP IP ports. Here, so I'll just click on this. So now, excuse me. So if you watch here, right, sometimes you will hear the word TCP IP ports. Sometimes you hear the word well-known ports. Okay. So in every computer, okay, just because I don't want you all to get lost by any means, right? That's why I'm trying my best to use simple illustrations that you can resonate with. Okay, so watch what I want to do now. So let's say this is your computer, okay? Your computer, and you have different applications running. Okay, so let's say in this computer, you have WhatsApp running. Okay, so I'll come here and say this is WhatsApp application running. Okay, so let's do this. Control D. This is another application. Control D. This is another application. Control D. This is another application. So let's say this is WhatsApp. Let's say this is Facebook. Let's say this is Twitter. And say, let's say this is Instagram. Okay. Now, on your computer system or your mobile phone, you have 4 applications running. Friends, I want you to understand as long as you have internet connection on this mobile device or this computer, right? You want to be able to send message out of this computer so that people will receive your message. If you open your WhatsApp and type a message and you want to send it to somebody, right? Now, I want you to understand what happens. That whenever this application is leaving your computer, okay, it leaves with different kinds of information. Okay. Now, one of the things your computer do or your operating system do is that it attaches a number. We call it port number or TCP IP port number. It attaches a port number to every application service. You understand? So it might call this number, it might give this number 1. It might give this one, okay, this is number 2. It might give this one number 4. It could give this one number 66. It could give this one number 88. Now, if you want to, excuse me. So now for web applications, application that runs on the web, maybe on the browser, they usually go with the port number 80. 80. For applications that runs on the terminal, okay, on the terminal, when I say terminal, I'm talking like command prompts and the rest of them. You understand? They run on port 22, especially SSH. Do you understand? Now, so if your computer wants to leave, if this information wants to leave your computer, right? That data will be leaving, and attached with it, you'll be seeing something like the IP address. Let's say the IP address of this computer is 192.168.22.10. And then you see something like a column. You see something like a column, and then you see something like the port number. Let me expand it so you see. You see something like this. Okay. So this is what you're going to see. Okay. So this is the IP address of this entire computer. And if this is the web browser, the WhatsApp is running from. So whenever this information is leaving from this application to the internet to somebody else's phone, it's going to attach the port number for this web browser. And in this case, is usually port 80. You see that? Now, if you have another application, maybe running on maybe what is it called? On terminal. That's if Facebook runs on the terminal. It doesn't, but ideally, what I'm saying is every application has its ports. Okay, different services on the computer has its ports. Okay, so we have port 80, port 22, port 25, port 53, port 443, and so on and so forth. So as a cybersecurity engineer, one of the things you should know is well-known ports. Is one of the things you should know. Okay, you might not need to memorize all these things. They're about 65,000, if I'm correct, 65,500 and something. It's not here, but let me scroll down and see. I'm sure if you check this carefully, let's see. If you keep going down, you see, okay. Now, this, let me see. This is 49,151. No, there's still more. 60. Good. See, this is 64,738. No, I think it's about 65,500 and something, if I'm correct. Yeah, see it here. It's about 60. No, let me see. You can just come here and say total port number in let me see. Total port number. Let's see. It's about, okay, good. Say it. There are about 65,535 port numbers. Okay. So, there are so many things I can say on this, but I don't want to confuse you all. Okay. So every application runs on a port. Okay. So anytime you are dealing with some information as regards the computer, sometimes you hear the word ports. So remember that the port is like a doorway. Okay. So if you go back to this, my example, anytime somebody sends you an information, maybe somebody in, there are so many applications here, and the person wants to send it information to this WhatsApp on the web. If this traffic is coming in, you understand, it's going to specify the port. Okay. Which of, so if it's coming here, the operating system is going, the computer is going to ask, which of the ports do you want this to listen on? Okay, is it port 80 or is it port 443? Which of the ports? Once it specifies the port, it knows the application that needs to process that or receive that data. I hope this makes sense to everybody. Okay, please, you can ask me question, but know that, just know that there are so many ports. I'll try and find a comprehensive documentation on this so that you can understand better. Okay. So but if you scroll up, you see there are so many things, right? So but there's a list that people just call the well-known ports. Let me see, well-known ports, port numbers here. There's some list of well-known port numbers. You don't need to memorize all of them, or common ports numbers. Let me see. Okay, let's use this one. 50 common ports you should know. In case during an interview, they ask you, okay, so which service runs on port 22? You should be able to know that it's SSH that runs on port 22. When they tell you what runs on port 80, you should be able to know that the web runs on port 80. Okay? Please, I hope you all understand. I'm so sorry for the background noise, okay? I'm so sorry. Can you all hear me? Are we together? Okay, so from the question there, she's asking, I want to know why application runs on the port and how do we locate the port on our computer? So it's not something, okay, I think I've addressed this, but I'll still explain it again. So the port is like a doorway. It's just like you are looking for a job, right? And somebody called you and tell you, okay, come to New York. Okay, when you get to New York, look for complex. Okay, there's a quarter or there's a headquarter complex. Tell them you're looking for Achievers Associates. You understand? And when you get to Achievers Associates, you should come to the third floor. Okay, so you got there and you got to the third floor, and there's so many offices, right? Now, or maybe let's say you, as you were you got to the building, you saw a staircase and you saw a lift. Okay, a lifter. Okay, now you get to the lift. Now the lift is going to ask you to which of the floor do you want to go to? Let's say you choose one of the floor numbers, it takes you to the floor. Now, of course, you notice there are so many offices there. How do you know the particular office where you were invited? So the particular door number or particular office could have a particular door number they'll use to invite you. So a port is like a doorway, an entry point, okay, to a specific service or a specific application running on your computer. Okay, so every unique service running on your computer has a particular port that it's running on. Does that make sense to you? Please, do you understand? Okay, so like I showed you on Linux, right? If you watch what I did here when I typed that net start, was when I typed that net start, you can see that there are so many ports running on the computer. Okay, but I just decided to check for only port 80, and it can show me that okay, there's only one application running on port 80 right now, and that was how I was able to find out. If I uninstall Nginx, you notice that there's nothing running on port 80. It will just be listening. Does this make sense to you? I want to believe that have been able to answer that question. Somebody asked, is it possible for multiple applications to run on the same port? No. The answer is no. But sometimes there's a workaround on it. But sometimes you will get an error telling you that an application is already listening on that particular port. So categorically, the answer is no. The answer is no. Okay. One process runs on a particular port. Do you understand? Yeah. All right, let's move on practically so that we can get this. So remember what I did? Notice that we've installed what? UFW status. Now, notice that once immediately I enabled this UFW, please, can you all check? You know, this is welcome to Nginx, right? Reload this and see. Check from your own end and let me know if Nginx is working. Can you check from your end? Tell me, is Nginx working? Let me know. The link I shared with you before. Yes, the ports can be configured, Mr. Motoya. Yes, you can configure it. I can even change my application to listen on a different port. Okay? I hope you understand that. We can actually configure it and make our application to run on any ports. The only thing there is that when we use the word well-known ports, it's good to work with the convention, with the best practice. Everybody knows that port 22 is reserved for SSH. Okay? Everybody knows that the web is used for port 80, HTTP, and HTTPS is 443. So if you change it, it's going to work, but especially if you want to communicate with other developers or other team members, you want to use something that is universally acceptable and will not be confusing or complicated. Okay, so the answer is a yes and a no. Okay, if it can be configured, yes, but should you configure it? It's a yes and a no, depending on the use cases. All right. Okay, so Mrs. Ebonolua confirmed that it's not coming up again. Now, do you notice what happened? The firewall is like a barricade. You understand? The firewall is a barricade that automatically prevents incoming traffic. You understand? When I showed you this, the firewall prevents incoming connection into the computer's network. You understand? So we weren't able to get anything into our computer. Okay? So, and if you can see, this is not working. So this is what I can do. Okay? So if you watch, when we say UFW status, this is the only port that is allowed. Is it not true? Now, what if I come here and say UFW and say allow, did you see that? Allow 80. So I can use 80. I can use HTTP. Automatically, the firewall knows that HTTP is port 80. Okay? So I can use HTTP just like I use SSH and it's attached port 22. If I put HTTP, it's going to put 80 there. Or if I can just put the number. I hope this is not confusing for anybody. Okay? So if I do UFW allow 80, okay, I can hit enter. So now I can, okay, let me just do this. Now, did you notice it has added the rule? Let's check the status again. Did you notice there are two things now? Okay, so this is port 22 and port 80. Now, don't worry about the version 6. It's just like saying IP version 4 and IP version 6. Okay, so but did you notice that it allows port 80 now? So can we try this guy? Let's try this. Let's try this is our Nginx, right? It's working now, I believe. So can you check again, Mrs. Ebonolua? Can you confirm and check? Okay, check Mr. Motayo. Check Mrs. Motayo. Please check. Reload the page now and check. It's working, right? Beautiful. So what does this give you a perception to understand that the firewall is like it's a software or it's a barricade. It's something we can use to protect our network. Remember, we are learning network security, things we can use to secure our network. Do you understand? Different things we can use to secure our network. And we are saying that we can use things like firewalls, security groups, VPNs, you understand? Different kinds of things to set up and configure our networks out there. Okay, regardless of, so we can even use our access control list and the rest of them. Okay, now, but this is just a simple demo. Okay, a simple demo. Okay, so if just to show you again, if I come again and say UFW, okay, now if I say UFW deny, I can do this in two ways. Either I delete this and then add it again, or I can say UFW deny 80. If I do deny 80, this is what you're going to see. Now, if I check the status, you're going to see this. Now, did you notice what we have here? This is 80. This 80 has changed to what? Deny. So before it was what? Allow. If you try to check this web now and reload this, you will notice that it's not going to work. I hope this makes sense. So you can implicitly deny or allow, or explicitly deny or allow. There are different ways we can do these things. Okay? So I hope this is making sense to everybody and it's not confusing in any way. All right? Good. So we are talking about firewalls. That's why it's called uncomplicated firewall. A simple firewall we can use on our Linux computer system. And there are different categories of firewalls. There are different kinds of things we can do with firewalls. Our firewalls can scale. Okay? Our firewalls can scale. It's very important for you to understand that. Okay? We have firewalls that is being used on the web, on the cloud. Okay? AWS WAF, which is the web application firewall. Okay, so we have different kinds of firewalls. Okay, now you can, if you want to research, you during interviews, sometimes if you want to work for a company, you may hear things like Palo Alto. Let me show you Palo Alto firewall, Palo Alto firewall. Okay, good. So this is one of them. This is a firewall. There's another one called Sophos firewall. Now there's another one called Fortinet. In fact, because of time, I would have showed, okay, you know what? Let me just show you this in the real world out there. You know, I just showed you a simple one called the Ubuntu one, which we use here. Now, but some companies uses a firewall called Fortinet. Fortinet. Okay, so these are the big boy firewalls that companies use out there for their jobs. Okay, Palo Alto, Sophos, PFSense. There's another one called PFSense, but I think that one is actually an open source. Okay, PFSense firewall. You understand? It's an open source. In other words, it's free, unlike these ones that you need to pay for. You understand? So now, but all these are different types of firewall. Now, but I want to show you this Fortinet. So what this is what I want you to do. Okay, I want you to type Fortinet demo. Fortinet demo. Okay, Fortinet demo. Okay, just type Fortinet demo or FortiGate rather. Sorry, FortiGate demo. All right, I'm going to share the link so every one of you can have it. Okay, Mr. Motaya, that's fine. Thank you for letting me know. All right, good. So, friends, if you have done this with me, FortiGate demo, okay? If you type the FortiGate demo and click on the first link, you're going to see this. So just click on accept, okay? Now, when you click on accept, it's going to ask you for username. The username is a demo. The password is a demo. Just log in. Now, if you log in, this is what you're going to see, okay? If it asks you to log in, just click on the login read only, okay? Now, this is what you're going to see, okay? So there are more sophisticated firewalls out there. There are a lot of firewalls out there. So for some people, this is what they use in the real world to do a lot of things, okay? Now, one thing I can encourage some of you is there's this free certification that Fortinet does. It's called NSE. There's NSE1 and NSE2 and NSE3. Okay. So if you want to, I will encourage you to check up this NSE1 certification. Let me see. Let me see if this is still okay. Let me see. Free cybersecurity training. That's not what I want you. Okay, what I want here is the certifications. especially those of you that are very excited about certifications. If you're fascinated about it, fine. You can always you can write this NSE certification. I'm not asking you to pay for it. Please, that's not, please don't pay for this, except you have the money, you want to write the exams and pay for it, that's fine. Okay. So, but there's this Fortinet. I don't know. Let me see. I think it should still be free for the NSE1 and NSE2. Let me see. Um, Let me see. I'm trying to check. I will have to check this properly and maybe just let you all know. So there's NSE1, NSE2, and NSE3. Okay. So I think those first three level certifications are free. Okay. So maybe if you are interested in it, let me know. I will remind me at a later time so that I can search for it and share with you the link. Okay. You just have to watch some of their videos. And then if you understand how it works, they'll ask you to write the exams. And if you pass it, they'll give you a free certification that is recognized. Okay. So it just shows that yes, you understand how to use the Fortinet the Fortinet firewall. Okay. So there are so many firewall providers out there. Okay. So this is how the Fortinet firewall looks like. Okay. So if you look here, you see a lot of amazing things. Okay. Now, even though this is a free demo, but you can see how different kinds of things here is where you can filter it based on different kinds of things. Okay. Now, if you watch here closely, let's see if I can find um let's see security profiles. Mm, okay, antivirus. Okay, no, let's see web filter. You can filter for different things, video filter. Okay, let me see. Excuse me. I must say, I want to show you something that's is real world that you all can relate with. Okay, let me come down here and click here. Policy. Let's see. Okay, so now if you watch it, this is just showing us some policies that's already configured on this Fortinet. Now, time will not allow me to explain this in total, okay? But most important thing, so if I've not talked about ports now or IP addresses, if you're looking at this, it's going to be looking confusing, right? So, but because we've done a few of these things, it's going to improve your learning experience. Some of the foundations we've taught you, the goal is to make it easy for you to interpret or understand some things when you go deeper in your journey in cybersecurity. One of the reasons why people fail interviews or why people stop their journey halfway in cybersecurity is because their foundation is not grounded. You understand? They don't know some basic things. They don't know the difference between, they don't know what a protocol is. They don't know what a port is. You understand? They don't know what an IP is, source IP address or destination IP address, all those kind of things. They don't know the differences. Do you understand? So, but by the time you understand these basic things we've taught you, if you look at a dashboard like this, you can be able to look at it and understand, okay, this is a MAC address. This is what a MAC address looks like, which is like the physical address of a device. This is the source IP. This is the destination. So in other words, this person is sending, this person is receiving. You understand? The IP address. So this is also like a private IP. Okay, so you can look at the IP address and tell whether it's a private IP or it's a public IP. And then you see TCP 443, you know that this is HTTPS. You understand? So this is a firewall, okay, that can be used for doing different kinds of things. We can use it to mitigate different types of things. You understand? We can use it to protect, we can use it to scan, we can use it to defend, okay? We can use it to monitor incoming traffics and the rest of them. Okay, time will not allow me to explain all the many things that this service can do. Do you understand? So again, I want you all to understand that Fortinet or FortiGate is not the only firewall we have out there. Okay, I have mentioned other firewalls like Palo Alto firewall. Okay, you have also mentioned another one called Sophos. Okay, I've also mentioned what is it called, the PFSense firewall. Okay, so on your own, just document these things down. Okay, so when you want to read out, you can decide, okay, let me just read up a little bit on this. So you go for an interview and they ask you a question. Have you worked with a Palo Alto firewall before? Okay. Or maybe in the job description you see online, they tell you ability to configure and troubleshoot a FortiGate firewall. Do you understand? So at least the first step is that you've heard about it. You know what a firewall is. You've also heard about FortiGate firewall. Maybe you've not known how to use it very well yet, but you've made a gradual step. You understand? So this is how to improve your learning. You can have a note or a journal where you document all these buzzwords and all these technical terms so that when you are done, when you have free times, you can make research on each one of them. And that's why AI is there. You can use AI to do research on all these things and understand how they work. Please, do we understand? Any questions so far? I know there's so many things I need to cover. Okay, Mrs. Motorai, the password and username is demo. All right, demo. Okay, so let's move on. So there's one thing I wanted to talk about, which is called Nmap. I talked about it, which is called network mapper. Right now, I wish I can show you this in real time, but let me see. Okay, this is one. So let's see. I don't think there will be Nmap on this Ubuntu machine. So, but it usually comes with a Kali operating system. If your operating system is Kali, you do not need to install Nmap. It comes with it. So remember, I say Nmap means network mapper. Okay, it's a network reconnaissance tool. In other words, it's a tool that you can use to scan you can scan individual or organization's network. If you want to scan somebody's network, you understand? You want to be able to identify the devices that are running. You want to be able to identify the services and ports that are running in a network. For instance, you see a company, a hotel beside you, or you see an organization beside you, okay, and you see their Wi-Fi, and you want to be able to scan it. You got a hold of their IP, right? Now, there's a big disclaimer here. Okay, it's not a good practice. In fact, it's unethical for you to just get a company's IP and decide to start scanning it. It's not recommended. Okay, please take note of this. Okay, so if you're doing any of this thing, make sure you're doing it for educational purpose or with legal authorization. All right. So you don't come on the public and go and post and say, I just scanned this. And then you now go a step further and tag the company. You know, when you see some things online, I've seen people who said, I there was this video I saw, and it's an Indian movie whereby a young man came for an interview to get admission into a school, and then I asked the person, so why should we on the interview they asked the person, so why should we accept you for this for into our school? You understand? He said he said the reason why they should accept him is because he hacked into the school's network and invited himself for this interview. So I'm sure you all understand what I mean, right? So he hacked into their network and invited himself for the interview. So he's very exceptional, and that's the reason why they should invite him for and give him an opportunity. You understand? Now, while that might look very exciting, and it depends on who you are telling that kind of thing, somebody might be very paranoid or gets very offended and take it to the next level, and you will be arrested. You understand? So, but I've seen somebody actually did this in the real world, right? Whereby the person hacked into a company's account, did a lot of things. In fact, they hacked into a gym membership, okay, and paid and gave himself a subscription plan for their gym service. You understand? He hacked into another company, and interestingly, the person went on social media to go and tag the company and tell them that he has hacked into their network and did this. You know, people do a lot of things for validation. So you need to be very careful when you see people out there on social media post things. Okay, some of those things are pseudos. In other words, they are not the original information. Okay, they could be using alias. In other words, they may not be using real names and real information. Maybe it's true, but they are not using real names and real information, okay, just to mask it, okay, so that nobody comes to sue them, especially if they don't have authorization to put those informations out there. We live in a social media world. We live in a technology world. Anybody can be arrested. Do not allow the excitement of the knowledge you are receiving to put you in a vulnerable state or in a disadvantaged position. It's very important you understand this foundational instructions so that it can help to guide your direction in the field of cybersecurity. There's a lot of things to explore, a lot of things to do, and a lot of results to get. So do not allow the excitement to get into your head. All right. So let's move on and try to wrap up the session. We've said a whole lot of things. So if I type nmap, okay, no, let's say nmap. That's what it's spelled. So if you type nmap now, you see it's telling me use apt install nmap. But I want to show you all something. Nmap works on Windows, on Linux, and the rest. I think the GUI version is called ZenMap. So if you come here and just type nmap and hit enter, you're going to see this. Okay. You click on this, you're going to see it's called a free security scanner. Okay. So this is it. This is what we are talking about, right? So you can click on what is it called, download, and you can download this. Okay, so if I click on download, it's going to tell you, do you want to download it on Windows, Mac, or Linux? Okay, so if you click on Linux, you're going to see this. Okay, now you're going to see different types of Linux environments. Okay, now you need to look for the one that matches with your operating system. Okay, now, but in most cases, you will need to use RPM to install it. Okay, now, but I don't want you all to get confused right now because we'll touch on this in the next class. Okay, but if we wanted to use nmap, one of the ways we'll use nmap is just to type something like nmap. Once you type nmap, you put a signal. You can put S and you can run this on stealth mode. I'm going to explain all this when we start doing the practicals. Okay, I'm going to get you all ready so that we can practice all this. Okay, so once you do this, you now put the company's IP address. Okay, maybe it's 192 or 102.111.12.12. You understand? So once you do something like this and hit enter, this nmap as a tool will help you to scan this IP. Okay, now this flag you see here is actually what we call stealth mode. Okay, so there are different things we can actually add there. When we start doing it practically, you understand. Okay, we can actually use ping, we can use T, okay, we can use T, we can use A, and the rest of them. Okay, so I will explain all these things for you, but I want you to understand that in organizations, okay, one of the tools we use, okay, when we want to test our network security, okay, to look for, what are we looking for? We are scanning our security, our network. One, we want to look for version, we call it version detection. Okay, all the applications on your computer, the operating system, the softwares that is running on your computer, the versions, are they running the latest versions? Do you know that the software you're running on your computer has a version? And if that version is not updated, if an older one has a bug or a vulnerability and it can be exploited, and your computer is still using an older version, someone can attack your computer. Do you understand? So attackers usually use the Nmap tool and many other tools out there, okay, to look for vulnerabilities, to find ports and services that are running on your computer. You understand? To trace routes, to scan the kind of operating system you're using. Do you understand? So I just want you to know that there's such a thing called Nmap. Okay, so we'll do the hands-on in the next class. So maybe you can go and do some research on it, and in the next class you will make not maybe not in the next class, immediate next class, but just know that in the coming weeks we will touch something like this because we are getting into the hands-on part where we'll be doing a lot of hands-on things. Do you understand? So friends, we've talked a whole lot of things, right? So we've talked about ports, we've talked about firewalls. Okay, so we've talked about this network mapper right now. So while I try to wrap up the class, there's something that you will always hear, which is called VPN, Virtual Private Network. Okay, I'll try to do a demo for you all using an open source tool called OpenVPN. Okay, we'll try to create our own VPN. And if possible, I don't know, if it's possible, we might connect two VPNs together. But I may not want to go to that extent so that I don't confuse anybody, especially for the learning curve. But if I think it's very important, I will do it. Okay. So I'm mentioning some of these things so that you can do some research on it too. Okay. So that when we get to that point, you will be able to ask questions. I really enjoyed when you asked me questions. Okay. So if I need to give you a better answer, fine. If I need to go back and understand it better and give you a better answer, that'll be great. Okay. So there's such a thing called VPNs. Okay. So in the context of network security, you will always hear the word VPNs. You always hear the word security group. You always hear the word ports. You always hear the word firewalls. You understand? All these things is what you will hear in the context of network security. These are the tools, the technologies, the practices we imbibe just to ensure that the security of our network as an individual network or as an organizational network, internal or external, remains safe and protected from external actors. You understand? Please, any question on this? Any question? Any question? So I think, yeah, this will be a good place to stop the session. Yeah, I can go on and on and on, but I think I wanted to do another demo, but for want of time. Yeah, so yeah, this is a good place to stop. Any questions so far, friends? I think Mr. Idris wanted to say something. Okay, yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Idris. You can unmute yourself. Okay, let me see. Let me try and unmute you. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening. Yeah, I
Thank you
wanted
so
to
much,
find
Mr.
out
Idris. Good
the
evening.
killer coder. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, the killer coder was like a virtual computer in your
Server.
system.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Okay,
not
okay.
actually running in
So,
my computer, but it's on the internet. So that was why I shared the link. All you need to do is just to sign up, and then you will have access to something like this. Does that
okay,
make sense? Yeah. So I'll
okay.
share
So
the
I was
link
thinking it's
again.
like a virtual. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, it's actually a virtual server, but it's running on the web. Anybody can have access to it. All you need to do is just to sign up. Okay. I've
Mhm.
shared the link again. Okay. So if you don't want to use this killer coder, you can use your virtual machine that you have on your computer that you installed before. So I usually use this one so that people will not have any excuse to say that they can't, it's not working for them. You understand? So this one can work even if you're using your mobile phone. You understand? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, for instance, now if you work on it or work on something, for how long will they clean it up? Like, is it like
Okay,
24
that's
hours?
a
Or if I
beautiful
store
question.
something in it?
Okay, now it's not ideal to store anything on it, right? Because as you know now, somebody created this, and you can see the person has something called plus here. In other words, if you want it to last, so can you see this?
Yes. Okay. Hello? Hello?
Hello, friends. Can you all hear me? Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay,
you.
okay, cool. Okay, cool. So I guess I have been able to answer Mr. Irio's question. So, but what I was saying before my internet disconnected was, um, I was saying that the killer coder stuff, right? It's because it's an application that someone created, right? And if you want it to last above the 60 minutes, you have to pay for it and become a plus member. You see that this one has expired, and that's why the environment was deleted. So if you reload the page again, so if you want to use it again, you have to reload the page and it will give you another 60 minutes. So that's the only way to be doing it. But if you want up to 4 hours, you have to be a plus member. You see that? So that's but if you don't want this experience, I mean that's why you have to use your personal environment to do what you want to do. I hope that helps. Okay, somebody asked a question. He said, I
Yes.
downloaded Nmap. Okay, good. On my Mac, but every time I open it, it asks for my password and opens up my terminal. Is that how it works? I just wanted to see what it looks like. Um, check if you have any password configured. Otherwise, I think there should be a default password for Zenmap. Let me check. Let me see. Default password for Zenmap on Mac OS. Okay. Okay, I understand them. So if it's asking you for password over the terminal, that should be your default password. Mac OS is very security conscious. So it asks for password every now and then. So if you have a password for your Mac OS, try to type that same password. I'm sure it should get you in. Okay. So try it and see. If it doesn't work, let me know so we can find a way to look through. I hope that helped Mrs. Ebenloor. All right, friends. I really hope you guys are learning. Okay, even though the number has drastically reduced, but I'm excited to see people who are still present and want to learn. You understand? So thank you for showing up. My energy will not drop, and my commitment to giving you the best will not drop. Okay, regardless, even if we remain only two or three. You understand? So it's something I enjoy doing. It's something I'm passionate about, and I'm sure that by the time we get to the 10th week, you would have learned a ton and you have a lot of projects to show for it. Okay. So thank you so much, Mr. Ayobami. Thank you so much, everybody. And the last few things I want to say is please, we shared a flyer, which is a mentorship program. Okay. The tech mentorship is free. It's completely free. Okay. We've shared it on our social media handles, even on the Slack, on this what is it called? The Teams on Telegram's page. It's we want to do it for people who wants to learn, who wants to move into tech, but they don't have any experience, right? Maybe you've seen people who have asked you, teach me these things, or some people that don't know where to start from, or maybe you are part of them and you are struggling to learn. So there are some things you've not learned yet, the basics. You understand? So we'll be starting from how to do HTML, CSS, from the basics of IT and the rest of them before we start touching other things. Okay, it will be running for 4 months. So it's a mentorship thing. My goal is that eventually, um, I'll be able to pick people from there that will work with me because even after the 4 months, the mentorship continues, right? As long as you're still open and passionate to continue learning, I will keep exposing and teaching you as much as I can. Okay, so for now, it's a free mentorship thing. So please, you can help us by sharing the flyer on your social media handles or with your loved ones. Okay, please do this to encourage and support our work. And if you have any loved one or family member you want to help their 2025, I think this will be a good way to start. Okay. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ebonalua, for your kind words. I really appreciate. And I think the last thing I will do right now is to share my LinkedIn page. Okay. I want to share my LinkedIn handle with you all. And any of you that needs a recommendation, please let me know. But I want to ask for recommendation from you all. Okay, if you know you've benefited, you've learned something, and you think we have valuable skills, fine. Please, I want to share it so with you so you can recommend me on LinkedIn. It's part of the things that helps to put my brand out there and tell people that I understand what I'm doing. Okay. So I want to also encourage you to also look out for people too that you think they believe in your vision and they believe in you and they can also speak for you. Okay. So let me share with you my LinkedIn page and any of you that wants to do it, that'll be very, very helpful. Okay. It's not compulsory again, right? So there should be, I think there's a place at the bottom there where it's going to say you should recommend me or also apart from endorsements, you can endorse the skills, but there's a place where you also do recommendation to recommend me. Okay. Yeah. So if there's any other information, it will be passed across by Mrs. Vivian on the channel. We will send, put together some documentation. Okay. I would have shared it, but I don't want it to be lopsided. So I'll put them together, use this weekend to put them together and then I will share it with you all. You understand? And then I'll also put together some projects. I'm really working hard to put together some projects and share with every one of you. So please just be open-minded and expect a lot of them. And don't hesitate to reach out if you have any difficulty, challenge in your learning. Okay? Please do have a great week, everybody. If there's no further question, I will stop recording right now. And I'll see you all next week. If we're gonna have our normal quizzes again, and what is it called? Group exercises. Okay. But all this information will become passed across by Mrs. Vivian. Okay. So please look forward to it. Thank you so much, Mr. Olani. I will try to connect back. Okay. All right. Thank you, friends, and please do have a great night's rest.